Okay, so now we're gonna do our elderberry syrup. So I have 5 containers of elderberries in a tincture right now. So this is a triple extraction recipe. This is alcohol, honey, and then I'm gonna use water as well. So the first thing we did was we put the elderberries in the Everclear along with various other medicinal herbs and mushrooms to lead them to soak. And I think it's been about 3 months that they've been in here now. And today is the day that they come out. So we are going to take our strainer and our favorite bottle, which this one is calling to me right now. So this is the one I'm going to start with. And I'm just going to pour the liquid out. And we want to try not to break the berries too much in here. We're going to squeeze them in our hands like we did with the mushrooms. But you just kind of have to shake. What else works really well is a chopstick, which I will probably get depending on how many of these I have to do. The crock pot only has so much space in it, and so we can only fit in so much of this tincture at a time. So we're gonna see. This last little bit is stuck. There's a piece of reishi in here, I think. Yeah, that's what it looks like. I'm gonna get that chopstick after all, or we're never gonna get that out. Oh, there we go. All right, cool. So that we will rinse out and then get the last little bit of berries out of there that way. When we need to add the water to the crock pot, which is what we're going to do in just a second, as soon as I can get it close enough to comfortably pour things into it. So there's still quite a bit of tincture dripping from this. So we're going to do that in another bowl. This is nice and dark, nice and cloudy. This is a beautiful extraction right there. And we're going to put that aside for the moment. And now, you guys can't see, I am going to squeeze out the elderberries and reishi and other herbs that are in here. For that last bit of goodness. And then these will go into the crock pot for their next extraction. So as I said with the mushroom tincture, the reason we're squeezing out our elderberries is because sometimes the best and most potent medicine is the one that's still stuck inside the walls of the berry, and some of it will come out when they're being simmered in this crock pot, but a lot of the alcohol soluble part will be destroyed because of the heat, which is why we do the alcohol before we do the water. The alcohol can be done at room temperature, and it actually will help preserve the water-soluble compounds until we are ready to extract them. So I'm just kind of kneading these a little bit like pie crust right now, so taking a handful and squeezing and then kind of rubbing my fingers around them. And that seems to be working just a little better than the mushroom squeeze I was using before, which was the two hands together, kind of like you're trying to make some coal into a diamond. But these kind of pop rather than squish. And because they're a little more flexible, the ones in the middle weren't really giving up their juice, so this is working a lot better. I remember the day I picked these berries. It was the full moon in July, and it was an absolutely gorgeous, warm but not hot summer day with just a nice light breeze, and was down by the water because, as you know, Elderbery likes to keep her feet wet, so you usually find her growing in water or very close to water. These were near a lake, actually, and some beautiful old white pines, and there were some great blue herons nesting over there, and so that was a real treat to kind of see them and look at the birds and pick the berries and enjoy the warmth and sun of summer. You know, I like to think about that because winter for me is usually medicine making season. It starts in summertime, but it doesn't really conclude until wintertime, when the earth is sleeping and it's kind of gray outside and rather dark. And so this gets to remind you of warmer, sunnier days when you picked this medicine, and it brings that joy and warm feeling that you get during the summertime to the cold darkness that is winter in Connecticut. All right, so I think we're gonna have enough room in here to do another one. So what we're gonna do now is slosh some water around in this bottle to kind of clean it out of all the plant particulate. Because I'm gonna put the alcohol back in here, and I don't want to have to strain this again, and I don't want to have to remember to strain this again. So we're just going to do it all right now, and that will save us time and heartache in the future. There we go. This can go back in here, and these are just old liquor bottles that I have repurposed as tincture holders because they're nice and thick glass, and it saves you from having to buy bottles. Now, if you're really in a pinch and you're sick or somebody needs some medicine right away, you can certainly give them what's in this bottle, this alcohol extraction, and it will help a lot. It won't be as good, though, as if it was combined with the water and the honey. So I think we could probably get away with the contents of another small one like this, because this is not really full. It's only full to about the depth of my first finger digit here, just this little bit on the end. But we're gonna have to put in honey as well, because the honey will also extract some medicinal components And it will also help preserve the syrup. So just like last time, we're going to use a chopstick to get the remainder out where it's stuck and shake the rest. Some yarrow in here. I always put yarrow in my elderberry syrup, along with chamomile. Yarrow, chamomile, and elderberry are an old gypsy recipe for colds and flus, and I have been taking this syrup almost every day for 3 years, and I have only had one cold. It was very short and did not really cause me any bother at all. So just like before, we're kind of going to pinch and squeeze and knead these berries to give up their juice inside, and then we're going to stick them in the crock pot with some more water and honey, and we're going to slosh the water around in the bottle just like we did, so that we don't miss out on any of the things that are still in there, the little bits of particulate, because we don't want that in our alcohol anymore. Berries make a nice, satisfying little popping sound as you squeeze them. It almost sounds like your feet on swampy ground, like where you'd be picking them, that kind of like squelchy, sort of soggy, popping, sucking sound. It's a real hands-on medicine making experience. One thing I really like about this elderberry syrup is that all of the ingredients are local, and by that I didn't have to drive more than half an hour to pick any of them, which I think is really cool. So unlike most of the elderberry syrup that they sell in the store, which has ingredients that are sourced from all over, mine is just from southern Connecticut. That's it. And so it actually is really good for the environment because there are almost no gas miles on this, unlike when you order herbs from, you know, those online stores or whatever. And it's more fun, I think, to go out and find them and pick them yourself. Ooh, that one is really dark. Great. And so you'll kind of know that you've squeezed enough liquid out when it holds together in your hand, almost like the beginnings of a meatball. And these will stain your hands a purplish kind of color, but not to worry, there's nothing wrong with that, and it will come off. Perfect. So now we're going to put in our honey, because I'm still not entirely sure how much space I have left in here. That's so pretty, the way that's like dripping out. This is some local honey. I did not forage it myself, but it actually comes from Connecticut, right here in New Haven, which is pretty cool. And so I'm going to fill this jar up with hot water, and that'll help melt the residual honey in here, and that way we'll clean the jar and fill up the crock pot at the same time. Nice and clean. So I could probably do another half or some of one of these other jars. Need to put in a little more water. So the proportion that I'm using here, and the reason I keep sticking my hand in, is because I'm trying to feel the relationship of elderberries to water, to liquid in here, because it's not just water anymore, it's honey as well. So right now it feels like it's about half elderberries to water, which is about what we're looking for. But now that I've added in the final amount of water, it's a little less concentrated than I'd like, and I want a little more in there, so I'm going to put in another one if I can get it to fit. I'm gonna have to do this in 2 batches. Ooh, that was sharp. Mugwort. Stalks. These were nice and fresh when I picked them. And now, because they've sat in here for so long, they're a little sharp. Some old man's beard. Each of these bottles was not equal in what was inside of it, because I knew that it would all be combined at the end, so they didn't necessarily have to be. But I'm starting to see that some of them, the plant material in here, I did not cut up as small as I really should have. And so that's why this one is a little harder to get everything out of, because the bottle is such a narrow neck. Almost. There we go. Some of these are the chamomile stems, some of it's yarrow, some of it's mugwort. The whole tops of the plant have medicine in them, and I don't like to waste things, and so I thought this year I would try putting in some of the twiggier bits as well. And you know, when you're just sticking them into the bottle, sometimes you don't think that you have to get it out. And so trying to get all of this out is going to be a real challenge that I'm probably not going to film, because it's going to require me with either some scissors or some tweezers or something. But for now, that'll do. I have to start getting ready for my other job soon, and so we don't have quite as much time as I would like, but that will keep until tomorrow, and this batch that I'm working on right now will be done. Because I still have another two gallons of elderberries that I have to attend to. Although now that I'm looking at that one, I'm pretty sure it's beach plum vinegar. And I will know in just a second. This is yet another reason that it's very important to label. And this year I was criminally negligent when it came to labels. Fortunately, I remember most everything I forage on the day that I forage it as well. So it's not the end of the world. And I also don't keep too many things. I try not to pick any more than I can actually use or give away, because, you know, it regrows every year. And sometimes it's nice to have like a year and a half worth of stuff, just because sometimes next year's harvest isn't as particularly bountiful, or, you know, one year things are growing in great abundance, and so you get to take just a little bit more than you would ordinarily. That being said, you know, you try and only do a third at a time. So like I take the bottom third of the elderberries, so anything higher than 1/3 off of where the fruit starts, I leave the birds or the deer or the other animals because they eat these as well. You also want to make sure that you're leaving some seeds out in the wild so that the stands of elderberries can continue to grow just like the stands of other plants. So we don't want to take everything. And we don't even want to take half of everything. But 1/3 will give you enough for yourself, certainly, and more than enough for the animals and for the earth. So everybody gets a 1/3 share. All right, so this is beach plum vinegar. Yep. I just gave it a quick sniff. This is beach plum vinegar, not elderberries. You would see the elderberry, you can see the elderberries here in the bottom of this one. And this one is just the vinegar mother. So. I'm gonna put in another bit of honey. Not the whole thing, because it's not going to fit. And now, just like the mushroom tincture, this, the mushroom extraction, excuse me, this elderberry extraction in the water and the honey will go for about 24 hours on low on this crock pot. And then it will be done. And we will mix it with the alcohol, and then we'll do the next step. And then when the whole process is complete, we'll mix it all together and jar it up for use. Until then, happy foraging!